What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Before I get into the story, I want to give a special shout out to Ms. Antoinette Boyd for always supporting the channel and showing love. We definitely appreciate your support. With that being said, let's get right into the video. In every generation, it seems to be a disconnect between the youth and the older adults. Since as far back as I can remember, I have heard people in my city say when I was a teen, y'all young dudes are different. Y'all don't move like we did back in the day. In Baltimore, we call the young kids hoppers. And the older guys will often say, I try to stay away from them hoppers so I won't have to hurt one of them. But of course, that was even though I feel old saying this, the early 2000s, over 20 years ago. Now a brand new generation has evolved. And with social media, the world has agreed on one name, YNs. Most of us already know what that stands for. You have memes about them, videos. It's the young dudes and women with the shiesties on, walking around with their little gun, looking for trouble, waiting for the opportunity to show they like that. Now as an older family man that was once a hopper himself, I never thought the day would come when I would say what was said to me back in the day. But these kids are different. They have access to things we can only imagine back then. And they all taking pride and causing chaos and being so-called YNs. But for us that gotta go out here every day, whether to work or somewhere with our families, I'm sure you might think to yourself, I'm a man first or a woman. I'm not worried about or scared of nobody young enough to be my child. And for most men, it's all about respect. But the vibe is different and the atmosphere has changed a lot. While most of us in our 30s will step in the street, throw our guards up and fight to get our point across, win, lose, or draw because that's how we was raised. These young people believe nowadays shoot first over any kind of small encounter, crash out and go to prison. And unfortunately, we got to navigate through the ones with that mindset. And a simple run-in with some hoppers can be fatal. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it right outside of Atlanta to Decatur, Georgia, to discuss the case of a man who lost his life on a job after an argument with some teens over bus fare. Back in October 2024, 47-year-old Leroy Ramos was in a good place in his life. The father of 3 and family man was about to make a few big moves. He had married his high school sweetheart, and the New York native had made the decision to relocate from home and move to Atlanta for what they thought would be a better quality of life. When they arrived to the city, Leroy would quickly find employment and become a bus driver for MARTA, the Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority. Now, if you know anything about Atlanta, you know the bus can be wild. Just like most major cities in America, the kind of people that filter on and off on the job can be draining. But Leroy had a family to feed and was up for the challenge. His co-workers loved the man. They described him as the type to always be there for people, protect his family, and look out for the ones in his circle. And a stand-up guy. He had no problem adapting to his new city. By January, Leroy had been on the job for a few months. When on a winter night, right after New Year's, on the 3rd of January, he was at work driving like usual. He made it to the Decatur station, and people were boarding the bus and paying their fare when 3 teens decided they would just get on the bus and not pay. Leroy being from the East Coast, and if anybody listening know anything about New Yorkers, they are very vocal, especially if they feel like you are trying to get over on them. So he addressed the situation, telling Shorty and them, like, yo, it's $2.50 to ride, and if y'all don't pay the fare, you have to get off my bus. Not knowing he was dealing with the exact kind of young dudes we was talking about earlier. As the conversation escalated with them being disrespectful, saying they wasn't paying nothing, it spilled off the bus when one of them threatened to spit on Leroy. Coming out of the old school mob, he quickly responded, if you do that, I will definitely put hands on y'all and put one of y'all to sleep. After going back and forth for a minute, Another driver tried to intervene and tell Leroy to get back on the bus, but the hoppers would throw a few more choice words out there, and one of them decided to call Leroy's bluff and run up on the man. Feeling like the teens needed to learn some respect, when one of them touched him, Leroy had did exactly what he said he would do, started punching. You would think with the situation being 3-on-1, it would be a simple fist fight. But in the video, you can hear one of the teens say, "Give me the gun, twin," before over 8 shots went off, and people fled the scene. Malta police quickly responded to the location to find Leroy suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, including one to the head, and unfortunately, he would pass away at the scene. As the news came out, his wife was devastated to hear her husband had lost his life doing what he was supposed to be doing, trying to provide for his family. His co-workers were in shock, and many stated they felt something like this would eventually happen. Even though somebody recorded the incident, the 3 suspects will remain on the run. As family, friends, and co-workers gathered at a memorial at the exact location Leroy lost his life at, they made sure to let it be known the whole incident was petty and over $2.50. His wife expressed her pain and wanted it to be known that her husband wasn't an aggressive man, but he would stand up for himself and believe right was right and wrong was wrong. Malta would make a statement after being under fire for their policies and drivers feeling unsafe. They stated they have a strict de-escalation policy. Also Malta police, but many drivers shared similar experiences. One man said the exact same thing happened to him. A young man got on, refused to pay, and showed him a gun, saying, "I will take your life." As the Malta police were called, they walked the man down the street and let him go, as the driver was left shaken up. So he stated he knew one day something like this would happen. Also a woman who was a driver as well. She had recently put in her resignation letter after the incident. She had also been in a similar encounter, in which she expressed the passenger told her, "Go ahead, call Malta police." He didn't care. Somebody was going to die that day. In fear for her safety and not feeling protected as a driver, she decided it was better just to quit. A GoFundMe was started for Leroy to raise money for his family and to lay the man to rest. As days went by, police would get information that all 3 of the suspects were teenagers. 2 were quickly picked up and taken into custody and charged as adults, but due to their age, their names and pictures wouldn't be released to the public. The 3rd teen and the alleged trigger man would turn himself in a few weeks later and also was charged as an adult for the slaying of Leroy. And as of now, this is a new case, and all 3 are innocent until proven otherwise. Rest in peace to Leroy. I send my prayers and condolences to his family. To come from a city like New York and come down south for a better life and lose your life after only 3 months is very sad and unfortunate. Probably like most of us that's a little older, Leroy probably felt, "I'm not about to sit here and let these young guys intimidate me." As it seems, that's what they expect for you to do, bow down. But everybody wasn't raised like that. Some people were raised to defend themselves and protect themselves if they ever feel threatened. I remember being at that age, and I thought to myself, if we did decide to do something like that, just jump the bus and skip the fare, if we would have got our card pulled, we would have just fought. In my opinion, it wasn't worth guns coming out. It's like now, they are tough and scary at the same time, but it's the so-called YN culture. They are on an ego trip and have a complex and feel like you can't stand up to them or pull them up on nothing. But I want to end this one with a few questions. What do y'all think started the disconnection between generations? Back in the day, it was no ma'am, no sir, and a little respect left. Like, yeah, ain't my fault, or I'm sorry, auntie, when we spoke to our elders. But now, it's gone out the window, and it doesn't seem to be coming back. Do y'all feel like the so-called YN culture that's being promoted is hurting the community, making good kids want to be crash outs because they see what they see on the internet? And have you yourself ever ran into a situation like this? If so, did you put your pride to the side and walk away, or choose to engage? And how did it play out? Let me know in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace, that man. Over $2.50. Only been down here a few months. I definitely send my prayers to his family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.